So I'm in my pantry, and for years we've kept all our foil and wax paper in this, a cardboard box. Very classy. So I'm going to make something a little bit nicer. First, I take measurements of the space. And then the products that need to be stored. Then I sketch out a design on paper because I'm old-fashioned. Here's the sketch. The blue lines indicate the sides, the black the front view. I cut the sides, the back, and the bottom out of 1/2-inch maple plywood that I had left over from my previous desk build. I taped the two side pieces together with carpet tape, so once I cut them out they'll be almost identical. I transfer my design with an ice pick, connecting the points with a ruler. Now I set up the blade on my table saw to cut grooves in the sides for the bottom and back panels. I use this scrap to set the top of the groove. After I've made the initial cuts, I move the fence in about 1/4 inch and cut again to widen the grooves. I could use a dado set to do this, but for a project this small it wouldn't save me that much time. Here I'm transferring the height of the shelves to a scrap stick. The marks on the stick make it a lot easier to set the fence. On each of these grooves, after the initial cut, I reset the fence and cut it again to get the width I want. Now it's time to cut tongues in the back and the bottom to fit in the grooves in the side. At this point I'm having some indecision as to which side I'm supposed to cut. Take the time to look at my sample piece, and then I get it right. Now all the parts are cut. I have 2 sides, a bottom, a back, and 3 shelves. Before I go any further, I do a dry fit, piecing them together without glue to make sure all the pieces fit together. Before the final assembly, I paint all the inside parts that I won't be able to reach once it's all glued up. Now that the paint's dry, I glue up the back, sides, and bottom. When the glue is dry on the main body, I put in the shells with just a couple of drops of glue in the back to hold them in place. Before I did the glue up, I realized that I cut the bottom panel a little too long, as you can see there. Rather than fiddling around with it, getting all finicky, I decided that I would go ahead and glue it up. I'm just going to cut the whole thing off, make it flush. These two pieces of scrap are clamped on to back up the cut and prevent chip out. When this is done, it's going to be completely painted and kept in a pantry. But in my continuous pursuit of making things more complicated than they need to be, I'm going to trim the edges of the plywood with strips of poplar. Now that it's painted, I can put it in place and give our wax paper a home.